I honestly think that having some self-awareness and having a little bit of responsibility, it goes a long way. And that's, I mean, for myself as well, because I'm listening to my music loud, I'm having a conversation with somebody in the vehicle, or I've picked up my cell phone and texted to let somebody know that, I'm on the way before too. And I think everybody's guilty of it, but then having the self-awareness and that responsibility to say that, listen, like, this is not something that can continue, so that you don't have all those issues.
I'm guilty of that. Every time I'm in the car, my music's maxed out, blowing out the speakers. You see the windshield shaking a little bit or whatever. That's how I am when I drive. But in terms of distracted driving, I feel texting is probably the number one. If you're on your way someplace and you need to let somebody know that you're on your way, and then you just look at your phone for a second, you look back up, and then the car is like right in front of you.
How much time do you have really when you look up from your cell phone and there's a car 10 feet in front of you? There's not a lot of time there to be able to actually slow that vehicle down and come to a stop.
Sometimes I get distracted. Majority of the time, actually, I get distracted of what's outside. Sometimes I'll be looking around outside of actually looking at the road. So if I see a girl or somebody on the sidewalk, usually I look over and see, and then all of a sudden I just ran a red light or something. It's yellow. I just gotta slam on the brakes, anything like that. And I'm kind of a hypocrite, because I get mad road rage when somebody's texting, driving, and I'm at the light and it's green and they're there for like 4 seconds. I'm like, go, bro, go. But then I'm like kind of doing the same thing. So
I think everybody's kind of guilty of it. I mean, I'm sure everybody's done it at some point in time. It's more a matter of making sure that you're aware of the fact that you need to make a change in your behavior. And that's tough, because it's convenient to be able to turn the music up, or it's convenient to be able to grab your phone and be able to, let your mom or your wife or your friends know that you're on your way, or, just try and be in communication with people. And you get wrapped up in that instead of actually doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is driving.
If I have music on, I feel like I can focus on the road a little bit better, but I know that you get into the music a little bit, but I like that rather than thinking about other things and then daydreaming about other things.
I can kind of agree with that, because usually the music kind of like, I'll be focusing on the music and the road, but usually if I'm in silence, I'll get lost in my thoughts, and then driving kind of turns into an afterthought, kind of.
In a sense, drag racing can be the complete opposite of what you do on the road. Because if you have time to prepare for your race, you're sitting in the car, you're strapped in, and you're thinking about every single thing you need to do. So you know exactly how you need to perform your burnout, how you need to stage, exactly at what points in the track and at what speeds and what RPM you're going to be shifting the car. You know what it sounds like. You close your eyes and you visualize it, and you do it over and over and over again, because even the smallest error can have catastrophic results, right? So I can't imagine thinking about it in that much detail about, hey, this is my commute home, this is what I'm going to do, this is where I'm going to turn. But imagine if we did do those things, how much safer it would be. I mean, even I rely so much right now on Google Maps.
I've missed so many turns because I'll be looking. That's another form of distracted driving, is Google Maps.
Sure it is.
Oh yeah.
And I've missed so many turns looking, and it'll say 100 meters. I'm like, oh, that's definitely the next one, whatever it is. But it was this one. I'm like, then I have to make a U-turn. I end up being 10 minutes extra late than I would have been if I hadn't even touched it.
What do some of the fines look like for distracted driving? Because off the top of my head, I don't recall any, or exactly how much they would be, and exactly what constitutes a distracted driving.
That's a good question.
We have many different ways you can be distracted.
Okay.
There's the handheld devices.
Right.
Or grooming, eating,
Okay.
or if you have your cat on your lap while you're driving, that kind of a thing. But it can be anything from a warning to a few $100 fine.
Really?
Yeah, if it's serious enough, if you cause a collision, now you can start having to pay injuries and through insurance and everything else, right? So it can get right up there.
I get my wife to read me text messages or emails while I'm driving all the time, and that's because I've experienced that as a firefighter, is that we have it set up so that you have roles. One person does the driving, one person deals with technology and deals with communications.
Yeah.
I think that's really a good thing if you have passengers, and I would always tell my kids, if you're a passenger, you are helping the driver. That's your responsibility, not to distract the driver. right?
Yeah, what I used to do is if I'm at a red light, I would hold up the phone to my steering wheel so I could look at the light and my phone at the same time. But what I was finding is that if I was at a specific light that had a green advance and then the cars beside me would go, that you'd have that half second of, oh, and then you'd realize it's a red light. And your foot would never hopefully hit the gas, but then you confuse the person behind you as well, and then you confuse everyone else beside you. And I actually did have one lady once that just because I lurched, she kept going. And it was terrifying for the people going the other way. And I said, I did that just because I wanted to read a text. And I was making my own decisions and they were bad and it impacted someone else in a negative way.
I've been in the car before where, you're stopped, you're looking at a text message or something else, something's distracted you, whatever it may be, and then the person behind you honks. Say you're trying to make a left turn, somebody honks behind you, and you're like, uh-oh, and just go. What if that person's honking because they're impatient, or maybe you missed an opening, but that opening's now passed, right? Like that kind of split-second decision-making can really cause some serious harm.
Now,
As a passenger, what do you guys think that you can do in order to try and help people become less distracted?
I think I would start off by saying that, can I check your text for you? Could I be the one who gets the aux cord? Could I change the music? Kind of take control of the extra things that are going on in the car. If I'm, not the designated driver, but also helping the other people who are not the designated drivers within the car as well. And just trying to help keep everything calm in the car so that they can focus as best they can. How would you handle your job, so to say?
Usually I'm always riding around with my mom. So
Okay.
when she's driving, she's guilty of like checking her texts and stuff too. So I'll kind of just grab the phone out of her hand and just like put it on the seat. I'll be like, oh, I'll read it for you or whatever, this and that. She doesn't like the music loud, so that's never really a problem. I'm usually the one turning it up. But
As a DD, when you've got, you got your friends in the back and they're bouncing around and they're distracting you, if you're in the back of a car, you need to make sure that as a passenger that you're not being a distraction to the driver. You're helping them, like you said, trying to go through and make sure that hopefully you can make the situation better so that it's safer on the road, not just for you guys, but for everybody around you as well.